Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Joe's Healthy Cupboard. I hope you're all well. My camera still isn't fixed, so I'm still not sure if I'm looking in the right place. My eyes seem to dart everywhere when I'm using my phone to record this. I've been trying to record this video or find time to record a video probably for about a week now, but let's just be honest, life as a mum of two working and trying to juggle everything is not always the easiest. But today I thought that I would record a video on how to make healthier treats on a budget, how to purchase store cupboard items, basically my store cupboard essentials, what I use for making healthier treats. And I'm gonna give you some tips for kind of cheaper things to use or substitutes for things that cost or are quite costly in general. If you wanted to have things in your cupboard that you could go, right, I'm gonna make myself some protein balls or some energy balls or like a little flapjack or something like that, then you can do that without spending an arm and a leg, so to speak. So these are just things that I've picked up and learned along the way, nothing like rocket science, but I'm just gonna give you some substitutes, and below I will share a recipe for something that you could make with these ingredients. Super simple, and yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about is cacao powder, which is this. Organic cacao powder. I'm going to actually confirm the prices. I'll make them appear somewhere around here because I need to go and Google them and double check the prices of everything. So cacao powder is like the purest type of chocolate you could get, and it's like 3,000 plus years old. It's rich in antioxidants, and basically it's used in a lot of vegan cooking or baking or raw treats because it has no dairy in it. There's no dairy, no sugar, it's just very pure cacao powder. And the difference between this and cocoa powder is the process that it goes through. So cocoa powder has gone through a different process, and they don't guarantee that, oh actually this one's got vegan certification as well, so it does actually have a vegan stamp on this cocoa powder. I think some cocoa powder may have some dairy in it or they can't guarantee it, but this one is vegan. I got it in Sainsbury's. It probably cost about a third of this one and it tastes very similar. They're both quite bitter. You wouldn't have them on their own. You would add some kind of sweetener to both. But for making like treats like raw balls or flapjacks or chocolatey porridge, they do the same thing. This is the Sainsbury's cocoa powder, but again, if you're on a budget, it's much cheaper. The next thing is dates. Okay, I go through a lot of dates, and most recipes you'll see online for like protein balls, energy balls, that kind of thing, they'll use medjool dates, which are the thick, squidgy, juicy dates. Now they are very expensive. I'll do a comparison price here, but I use pitted dates, especially when I am baking. So the difference is basically I don't have any medjool dates. The difference is basically these are more dried out and they tend to be a bit smaller, and they're the same thing, they're just dried, not as juicy. So if I was going to eat dates as a snack, I'd probably buy medjool dates because they're nice and juicy and sweet and tasty. But for baking and treats, there is no difference. I just soak these in boiling water, less than half the price. I go through a lot of them, so there's no point in buying expensive ones. These are actually from our local health food store, and for 0.3 kilograms, it was 90p. So that's very cheap. So next up is your sweeteners. So for making healthier treats, you might not need a sweetener if you're using dates. Very often I use maple syrup or date syrup. Now date syrup is probably half the price of maple syrup, and for things like cakes or for flapjacks or granola or anything, it's perfect. I wouldn't use it to make like any kind of homemade like raw chocolate because it's a bit too thick, but for everything else it's perfect. Average jar of maple syrup is probably about £6, especially if you go for like the organic or grade A maple syrup. This is about £3, and you need a lot less actually. It's super sweet, so you don't need much, so that is another cheaper version. And then lastly, oats. So basically you could, I know a lot of people maybe buy gluten-free oats, or they'll buy, free from oats, buy different types of like fancy branded oats. I buy either Sainsbury's or Asda's own brand oats, which I think they're about £1.80 for 1 kilogram. It's a huge bag. I use these for my baby's porridge. I don't buy any special baby porridge like that. just regular oats, and compared to like gluten-free oats, oats are naturally gluten-free. I think the issue is they can't guarantee that they are not, there is any cross-contamination with anything else, and so if you're celiac, then you may need to buy the gluten-free ones that are labelled gluten-free, but they do cost at least double. So another option is oats. Oh, sorry, I do have one more thing. So also, you need a hard ingredient. So if you're making things like granola or energy balls, you do need something that's harder, and normally I would use almonds or cashews, which are obviously more expensive. Any kind of nut is more expensive. Now, also, you may be allergic to nuts or can't have nuts, and these are buckwheat groats. So they're gluten-free, and you can get them roasted or unroasted, and they just look like little, I don't know if you can see that, seeds. They're quite crunchy, so they create the same sort of texture as nuts when you grind them in a food processor, but again, they're a lot less expensive. I'll link below to where I got all of these. So those are just some little making healthier treats or store cupboard items on a budget, like swaps that I've made. I mix and match. It depends on like what my budget is for the month, or what I'm making, if I'm just making for myself, or if I'm making treats for like my workshops, then someone might have a dairy intolerance, etc., then obviously I use the more expensive version, or I might use the gluten-free oats, or the I generally do always use the cacao powder, but at home I just make substitutes where I can to make it more affordable to make healthy treats on a budget, and I'm going to share some more tips for that. I didn't want to start with like 20 things, but those are just a handful. I hope it was helpful, and I will link a recipe below. If you'd like to see more videos like this, then let me know, and please comment below with any of your favourite healthy treat recipes, things you love to make, and I will see if I can find some substitutes that might be a little bit more reasonable in price. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye!